UFC 324 fight fallout. What's next for Justin Gaethje, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov and the division shakeups? Introduction. UFC 324 leaves the MMA world at a crossroads. UFC 324 will be remembered not just for its violence, drama, and controversy, but for the ripple effects it sent across multiple divisions. The event delivered unforgettable moments inside the octagon, yet when the cage door closed and the dust settled, the bigger story became clear. Several elite fighters now stand at career-defining crossroads. Justin Gaethje's future at lightweight, Sean O'Malley's status as the face of the bantamweight division, Umar Nurmagomedov's rapid rise, and the fate of several contenders all hang in the balance. UFC 324 didn't just produce winners and losers, it reshaped title pictures, altered matchmaking plans, and sparked debate about legacy, longevity, and next steps. This is a deep dive into the post-UFC 324 fallout and the most realistic next options for the fighters who defined the night. Justin Gaethje, the violence king at a critical turning point. A career built on chaos and courage. Justin Gaethje has never taken the easy road. From his World Series of Fighting days to becoming one of the most beloved action fighters in UFC history, the highlight has built a legacy on relentless pressure, leg-kicking brutality, and an almost reckless willingness to engage. UFC 324 was another chapter in that story, but possibly a turning page. Whether it was a controversial decision, a narrow loss, or a punishing war, depending on how the bout unfolded in your view, the result placed Gaethje in unfamiliar territory. At this stage of his career, every fight carries enormous consequences. At 35+, Gaethje is no longer a prospect chasing opportunity, he's a veteran defending relevance. Option 1. One final lightweight title push. The most obvious, and most emotionally charged, option is one last run at the UFC lightweight title. Gaethje has already challenged for undisputed gold once and interim gold twice. While the division remains stacked with killers, his name still carries immense weight with fans and matchmakers alike. A high-profile win over a top contender, such as a rematch with Dustin Poirier, a showdown with Charles Oliveira, or a clash with a rising contender like Arman Tsarukyan, could immediately place him back into title contention. However, this path comes with danger. One more loss at the elite level could permanently shut the door on championship dreams. Option 2. The BMF route and legacy fights. If title gold feels out of reach, Gaethje could pivot fully toward legacy fights, the kind that define eras rather than rankings. Rematches, rivalry bouts, or fan service wars are always on the table. Gaethje has become synonymous with the BMF identity, and the UFC knows he's a guaranteed action provider. From a business standpoint, this might be the smartest move. Fewer pressure-filled title eliminators. Massive paydays, cementing his reputation as one of the most entertaining fighters ever. Option 3. Retirement considerations. While Gaethje has never publicly hinted at immediate retirement, the wear and tear is undeniable. If UFC 324 marked another brutal loss or injury, the conversation will inevitably shift toward how much damage is too much. Gaethje has always said he fights for legacy, not longevity. Whether he chooses one more run or one final farewell, the decision ahead is as personal as it is professional. Sean O'Malley, star power versus competitive reality. The UFC's most marketable champion or contender. Sean O'Malley is not just a fighter, he's a brand. With his colorful persona, viral knockouts, and massive social media presence, Suga has become one of the UFC's most valuable assets. UFC 324 tested that brand under the harshest light, elite competition. Regardless of the result, O'Malley remains central to the bantamweight division's future. Option 1. Immediate title defense or redemption fight. If O'Malley left UFC 324 victorious, the next step is clear, a high-profile title defense. Potential opponents include Merab Dvalishvili, relentless pressure, nightmare matchup. Corey Sandhagen, technical brilliance. Umar Nurmagomedov, undefeated, suffocating grappling. Each presents a different narrative, and different risks. If O'Malley lost, the UFC could opt for a carefully chosen rebound fight to rebuild momentum without damaging his long-term value. Option 2. Superfights and cross-divisional opportunities. The UFC understands O'Malley's appeal transcends rankings. There is real business logic in champion versus champion scenarios, high-profile non-title main events, historic matchups designed to sell pay-per-views. While purists may object, the UFC has never shied away from spectacle when the numbers justify it. Option 3. Reinvention through adversity. One of the biggest questions post-UFC 324 is whether O'Malley can evolve under pressure. Elite wrestling threats, relentless cardio fighters, and tactical strikers are no longer hypothetical, they're real obstacles. How O'Malley responds will determine whether he becomes a long-reigning champion or a fleeting superstar. Umar Nurmagomedov, the quiet storm nearing the title. The Nurmagomedov blueprint continues. Umar Nurmagomedov doesn't talk much, and he doesn't need to. His performances speak loudly. Technical striking, suffocating grappling, composure under fire, Umar embodies the next generation of Dagestani dominance. UFC 324 may have been his biggest stage yet, and the message was clear, he belongs at the top. Option 1. A no-doubt title eliminator. The most logical move is a true title eliminator. Umar has reached the point where there are no easy fights left. Matchups against top 5 contenders are inevitable, and many opponents may quietly try to avoid him. A win in a 5-round main event would make denying him a title shot nearly impossible. Option 2. The champion test. If the UFC wants to test its champion against the division's most complete threat, Umar is the answer. From a sporting perspective, he represents the toughest challenge. From a promotional standpoint, the Nurmagomedov name carries global recognition. The risk: a dominant Umar performance could disrupt established star power. Option 3. Slow burn, long reign. Unlike others, Umar doesn't need urgency. His style ages well, his damage intake is low, and his confidence is steady. If the UFC chooses to pace his rise, he could quietly build one of the most dominant reigns in bantamweight history. Other fighters affected by UFC 324. The lightweight logjam. UFC 324 intensified an already chaotic lightweight division. With veterans, rising stars, and champions all circling each other, matchmaking has become a puzzle. Every result now carries a domino effect. One win reshuffles the top 5. One loss sends a contender down the ladder. Gaethje's position is only one piece of a much larger picture. Bantamweight's golden era. Between O'Malley, Umar, Merab, Sandhagen, and others, the bantamweight division may be the UFC's deepest. UFC 324 didn't clarify the hierarchy, it complicated it. That's good news for fans, even if it gives matchmakers sleepless nights. Business, rankings, and reality. UFC decisions are never purely sporting. Star power, marketability, timing, injuries, and international appeal all play roles. UFC 324 reminded everyone that winning isn't the only currency, momentum matters too. Gaethje's violence sells. O'Malley's image sells. Umar's dominance demands respect. Balancing those elements will define the next year of UFC storytelling. Conclusion: UFC 324 was not an ending, it was a beginning. UFC 324 did more than entertain, it reshaped careers. For Justin Gaethje, the future holds either one last championship gamble or a legacy-driven farewell tour. For Sean O'Malley, the spotlight has never been brighter, or more unforgiving. For Umar Nurmagomedov, the path to gold feels inevitable, even if the timing remains uncertain. In the UFC, every fight answers one question and creates 5 more. UFC 324 proved once again that the octagon doesn't just decide winners, it writes futures. And the next chapters are already being negotiated.